So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to make a lid for your container. So it doesn't matter whether you choose to make a box-shaped container with a lid or a cylinder-shaped container with a lid. The steps are basically the same. So once you have the bottom part of your container made, you do need to take the shape of the base. So for the square container, that was the bottom square piece. For the cylinder, it would have been the bottom circle piece. And you need to roll your clay out and cut another piece. Okay, then decide which you want to be kind of the bottom or the top. So like which needs to go on the outside. If you want the smooth part of your slab on the outside, make sure you have the rough side facing up. So kind of like we did with the base, you're going to go around and score all the way around on all four sides of this piece. Then, after you score all the way around on this piece, you want to go around the top of your container, use your fork, and score all the way around this top edge. So really kind of rough it up. I like to kind of go in two directions with my fork just to make sure that that's nice and roughed up and kind of scratched up looking clay. Okay, then you're gonna, if you don't have slip at your station, raise your hand and let me know and I'll come bring you some slip. You're gonna take your slip and you're gonna dab it all the way around this top part. So dab a fairly generous amount all the way around that top part of your container. Then you're going to take that bottom part that you scored and you are going to press it on or press it down rather firmly. Now, it's not really important if this bottom is a little bit bigger or if it doesn't fit. If it's a little bit smaller, you might want to re-roll that and make it so it fits. So what I'm going to do next, if you kind of take a look at the sides here, that bottom slab that top slab, actually, it's on the bottom now, it kind of overlaps a little bit, and that's okay, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my spoon. I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to drag that up, and we want to connect this. So you want to go all the way around and pull that extra clay and connect that to the kind of body of your container. So use your spoon. If you get some extra clay kind of pulled off, you can kind of pull that off your spoon and push that to the side, but go all the way around. And essentially what we want to do is we want to make this so that it's like a hollow container. Okay, so if you're making a square-shaped container, this is going to look like a cube that's hollow on the inside. So one thing that you'll notice is this will look a little rough now. After you connect that, I would go around and smooth this. So make sure your corners looks kind of nice. But before we do the next step, I would spend some time. You can get some damp paper towel if you'd like. Your fingers really, hands will be kind of the best tool to smooth that, but just go through and smooth that. So kind of smooth the clay down. And then if you got some lines, you can smooth that across that way also. Now, the reason that we don't just take that flat piece and use that as a lid is because when your clay dries, your clay is, if you got a real thin piece, kind of like that flat piece that we had on top, sometimes your clay will have a tendency when it dries to kind of warp and curl up on the edges. So if we are going to make a container that has a lid, we actually want to attach that top slab, and then you are going to cut the lid off. So the next thing that I need to decide now is how far down do you want to cut it, and do you want to cut this so it goes straight across all the way around. So if you cut it straight across like this, you are going to have to add some extra clay. And I'll cut this one off straight across and demonstrate that. If you don't want to add any extra clay, so I've gone around, and this is just going to be a top piece. Instead of cutting this at a straight line all the way across, you could kind of make this like a curved shape, so that instead of it being a straight line, this is a curved line. What this will do is the way that this curves down, this will kind of lock this in place. So if you do that on all four sides, you could do curved line. You could put just like a little triangular piece here, like so, so that instead of it going straight across, you have just like a little triangle piece in here. But we need to create a mechanism that kind of keeps your lid in place, so that when your lid is standing up, we don't want the top just to kind of fly off. So the easiest way is to not cut it straight across, either cut a triangle in it or cut it at a curve. If you just really like the look of a lid that's just a straight lid all the way across, that's fine. You can do that. You just have a little extra work to do. So once you've kind of gone around, I would incise that first, make sure you're satisfied with how that looks. And now I'm actually going to come in. I'm going to start with a corner because that's where the clay is the thickest, and that's going to be less likely to kind of distort my box. So start at a corner, and then I'm just going to kind of press this all the way down. And I'm going to try to stay on my line as much as possible. And I'm going to cut this top part off. So I think it's much easier to cut your clay if your clay is kind of standing up like this and pulling your knife down like I'm doing. You could have this sitting this way and try to cut it sideways and saw it, but it's going to leave kind of a jagged edge and it's not going to look very nice. So now we've got kind of your lid and you've got the bottom part. So you can kind of smooth that out. At some point, just like you did on these insides, you do need to, before you're done with the project, roll out a really thin coil and attach a coil in all the way on the inside. Next thing that you're going to do is we want to create a little piece on the inside that's going to kind of catch on that. So what I think is the easiest way to do that is to roll kind of a thicker coil. It's like a fat coil, if you will. And then after you kind of roll out a fairly fat coil, go through, kind of start in the middle and then just flatten that so it's a flat piece. If you don't like rolling coils and you don't feel like you're very good at rolling out coils, you could get your towel out and you could roll this a slab and just cut like a thin slab if you want. But you'll have that kind of textured edge. So the next thing we can do, and you can either do this all the way around, or you can just add a little piece on the inside. So the next thing we're going to do is you're just going to kind of lay this small flat slab, and you want to make it so that it kind of sticks up slightly. So all I'm going to do is just kind of press that in. When I run out of clay, I'll roll out another one and add another one on the side. And then I'm going to kind of lay it on its side like this. And you do need to attach that. So this gets a little tricky. If you can get your spoon in there, you might find it easy to do that with your spoon. I think it's easiest just to pull it up, push this on the inside, and use like your thumb. And all you're going to do is connect that in. If you want to make sure that this has a super secure connection, you could go ahead and score this bottom half where it's going to attach to the base, add some slip and connect it that way. But if you are kind of melding and connecting this into your clay, so notice how that's a lot smoother now, and I've connected that in, that should be secure enough. And then after I've done that, you're going to want to put this top back on. And the trickiest part about doing a lid like this is you want to make sure that it goes on the way that you cut it off. So what I usually recommend students do, I think it actually goes this way, is before you cut it off on the side, it doesn't matter where, but put a little line, just incise a little line like that. That way you know how to do that. So once you have this small kind of thin slab all the way around, making sure that kind of pops up, that will create kind of a little piece. Oops, line up my line. But that'll create a little piece on the inside, so this will kind of catch that, and that'll make it so that you can have a lid that is cut straight across, but it's not going to just fly off the base or the bottom once you're done. So that's how you create a lid for your project, whether it is a box project or a cylinder project.